Good day. My name is Ugochukwu Okwebu. I'm a cloud engineer. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance and install Linux, Apache, MariaDB and PHP, commonly known as the LAMP stack, on Amazon Linux 2023. A LAMP stack is a group of open source software that is typically installed together in order to enable a server to host dynamic websites and web applications written in PHP. The term is an acronym which represents the Linux operating system, Apache web server, MariaDB database, and PHP. This guide will show you how to set up a virtual machine and install a LAMP stack on an Amazon Linux 2023 server. It will also show you how to store data in a MariaDB relational database, retrieve the data, and save it on a web page. The prerequisites for this demonstration, that's for you to follow along, is to have an AWS account. So let me begin my presentation. So the first thing you want to do is to log into your AWS account. I've logged into my own account. So I'm in the console home. The first thing I want to do for this practice is to the service we'll be using is EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. And we click onto the service and we'll be creating a web server. So the first step is we'll set up the things we're going to need to get our web server up and running. And the first thing we want to do is to create a key pair. So yeah, it's here, right? But if you don't find it there, the traditional place where you always find a key pair is on the left of the EC2 services page. So I click the key pair. So we'll give the key pair a descriptive name. So I'm going to create key pair. I'm going to name it tutorial EC2 key pair. I'm going to take RSA as the type. I'm going to use the PEM key because, okay, basically the key pair is something that is going to give us access to a virtual machine from our local environment. In my own case, it's my computer. So I want to access it using OpenSSH. If you're more comfortable using PuTTY, you can choose the second option. So I choose a .pem key file format because I'll be accessing it via OpenSSH. So I think that's fine for me. I give it a name, RSA, then I create key pair. So when I create a key pair, it's going to download the key pair for me. So let me go where the download is and copy that. I want to access it from my desktop. So my desktop, I want to create a new folder. Let me call it AWS EC2 Access. And then paste the key pair there, right? So when you create a key pair, you're only going to have access to it once, to download it once. That key pair, you need it to access the machine. So that done, we saved it in our local environment. So that's the first step. The next step is we create a security group. So still on that same left side of the EC2 services page, scroll down to network and security, and we have security groups. So we take that, I'll explain what this means. So I click create security group. So I'm going to call this tutorial EC2. Okay, let me tutorial EC2 access XG. And because security groups are active per region, I'm going to call this SG Stockholm. Stockholm because that's the region where I'm hosting this web server. If you're familiar with cloud, or if you come into cloud, our resources are hosted in regions. AWS groups their services or their data centers in regions. So we'll be, and security groups are regional. It's a regional resource, and this I'll be hosting in Stockholm. So I'm giving that a descriptive name, so that helps me going forward to identify what the resource is and where it is active, right? So of course, you also give it a descriptive name so that down the line it makes it easier for you to understand what it does, right? So allows SSH access, let's call it, to web lamp web server for developers. Okay, so I choose, that's a virtual private cloud, a VPC network. So that's actually the default. So I'm fine with that. I'm going to leave that selected. And then we create something called, basically it comes with a default outbound rule. And the outbound rule is that it allows all traffic to any destination. 0.0.0.0.0/0 is outbound traffic to any destination. And then by default, it doesn't have inbound rules. So we're going to create inbound rules, right? So let's create inbound rules. The first inbound rule we want to create is, this is going to be a web server. So I'm going to create HTTP access inbound rule web server. So basically, there's something called, why are we even doing this? Why are we creating security groups, right? There's a principle called least privilege access. So this is a web server. What do we want? What kind of access do we want to allow on our web servers? We want to allow traffic over the internet to a server. So that's HTTP via port TCP/80, HTTPS, and then so basically the other access we're going to allow to the server is SSH access, right? So this first one, so basically those are the rules, those are the access we want to make available to this machine, and so we grant it. Any other type of access, if you look here, the other different types of access, right, will not be allowed to the server because we've not configured it. These security groups are kind of firewall rules, right? So okay, if you can give it optional description for what it means. But, okay, yeah, source. What kind of source? Yeah, which source are we allowing the HTTP from? Let's take anywhere from any access. See that 0.0. So I add another one this time around, HTTPS. That's HTTP secure access. Let me type that. Okay. 443. This also from anywhere. Right, and a third security access, SSH. Okay, that's it there. And normally this you want to restrict the kind of range, but for demonstration purpose, I'm going to allow all access to access from all points or anywhere from internet, SSH access to for this security group, right? So basically HTTP, HTTPS, and SSH access to in this security group. We've actually not applied it to any resource, but when we apply it to a resource in our situation, the web server, it will obey all those rules. So let's go on and create security group with 3 inbound rules. Okay, so security group created. Step 1, we created a key pair. Second step, we created a security group that allowed inbound rules and outbound rules as described. So that's set up. Next thing we want to do now is to create our EC2 instance, right? So we can click on the instances, or can just go back to the default EC2 pages. And yeah, let's launch an instance. And by the way, there is an accompanying blog to this tutorial where all the instructions and all the commands I'm going to use, you'll be able to find it there. So just follow along with this tutorial. Be rest assured that there is somewhere you can find all the steps that I'm following here. So back to launch an instance, we're going to try to give this a descriptive name. So let me give it LAMP tutorial web server. So that's the name I want to give this. What kind of image kind of OS are we going to use? So I'm going to be using Amazon Linux. You see the other options there, whether you want to use a Mac image or Ubuntu or Windows, right? I'm going to be using Amazon Linux 2023 Amazon machine image here. And it's free tier eligible, right? So you can be practicing this on the free tier. So we are close to no cost, while it's within a particular agreement. This will be free. Okay, instance type, I'm fine with T3 micro. Some regions you might have T2 micro. So T2 micro, T3 micro, as long as it's still under that free tier eligible, that's for this demonstration purpose, that's fine. But then as you progress, as you advance in your cloud career, you might want a bigger machine, right? I'm trying to use the cheapest possible resource I can use for this demonstration purpose, right? And this is more than sufficient for it. Okay, so you can also see the pricing there, right? You can see 0.0708 USD per hour. So then key pair login, right? So now this is how do we log in? If I create this machine without selecting a key pair, I won't be able to access it, right? I mean, from outside my cloud console. So if I want to access it, right? Remember the first step is that we created a key pair, and we have to go for the particular key pair we created for this, and that was tutorial EC2 key pair. So that's selected, right? And then going down, network settings, we have firewall security groups. Yeah, there's a default security group, which is there. If you want to just go by, if you want to follow defaults, AWS helps us put things in place. It's pretty much all those same security rules that we created, but we've already created one for ourselves. So let's select existing security group, and then we use this, right? It's one of those practices. As you advance in your cloud career, you can create security groups with that gives custom privileged access to resources, and then you can choose, right? If you also want to go with default security groups, that's fine. So that's that. Here you can also choose. We have a server, right? So this here is, of course, your server will have a storage. Where does it store its data? Its website files, its database. So there's a resource called Elastic Block Store by AWS. You can think of it as your hard disk drive or your storage device. So this is here, we choose 8 gigabytes for starts, right? It's free. If you look, I think AWS offers, free tier eligible customers can get up to 30 gigabytes of EBS, general purpose or SSD magnetic storage. So that's fine for us, right? So I think that's enough. So if we can come look at the summary of the things we've selected for our virtual machine, right? So we look at the software virtual machine, that's the software we selected. We picked a T3 micro instance type. Firewall, yeah, we define that, and 8 gigabytes, right? So okay, this is the definition of your free tier access or the agreement. Your first year includes 750 hours of T2 micro or T3 micro in the regions in which T2 is unavailable. Instance usage on free tier, yeah, AMIs per month, 30 gigabytes of EBS storage, 2 million iOS, 1 gigabyte of snapshots, and 100 gigabytes of bandwidth to the internet. So that's our summary for our device, our server, and then we go ahead and then we launch that instance. So it tells us that our machine has been installed. So let's click on instances page or at least our instance has been set up. So when we click here, we can see this is the instance we just set up. Is still initializing, right? So we'll give it some time to fully come online. So just like I said, so these resources are regional resources. Our machine, we're hosting it in. These are some of the things you want to pay attention when it comes to cloud, right? You can see here the region. This is Stockholm. There are many regions along the world where AWS has resources. So you have to. So if you set up your resource in another region, and you didn't note it, and you're in another region, you can come back on and you're looking for your resource, right? So those are some of the things you want to be aware of, right? So that you know where your resources are. Some of the things you might also want to note down while you're working. It won't take long. It's just in a few more seconds, our machine will be ready. And once it comes on, the next thing we want to do is connect to the machine and then install our LAMP stack on the machine, right? Let me refresh that to see if, okay, still initializing. It won't take too long. Okay, but while it's still initializing, it should be done very soon. Let me try and get ahead of ourselves. To access that machine, I click on instance ID, right? Okay, it's actually running here, right? The machine is up and running already. So I click on that instance ID. It tells us that our machine is running, is ready. And then the next thing we want to do is to connect to our machine. There are many ways, there are several ways to connect to our machine. We can use connect direct online, different options, but I want to connect via SSH from my local machine. And of course, AWS gives us the commands that we need to access our machine. All right, so if you remember, how do we access our machine? We're going to find the open SSH client, locate our private key, right? So what I want to do is I go to, this is our key pair access, right? So I open an SSH client to it. I think I'm comfortable using git bash. So I git bash there. So if I do an ls, I can see my key pair is there, right? So let me go back to my console. Okay, so I open an SSH client. So that's that. Locate your private key file. We've done that. That's it there. Run this command if necessary to ensure your key is not publicly viewable. So I run that command. I can copy it, right? Go there and paste it. Okay, I want to be careful here too. I don't paste what I don't want to paste. So I just want to do chmod. Okay, that's it. So done that. The next thing I want to do is yeah, this is the I need this basically SSH that run that command too. Okay, so that's the command I want to run there to get SSH access into the machine. So let me widen that a little bit. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. All right, so I've connected to that virtual machine. You can see Amazon Linux 23. So if I do an ls, right, I'm in that machine. So when we first time want to, what we do when we gain access to a fresh machine like this, the first thing we want to do is want to update software packages there. So the command to do that is sudo dnf update, then y to say yes ahead of time. So it tells us that nothing to do, software is update complete, right? So now the next thing we want to do is install the latest versions of Apache web server. So that's quite a number of commands. So I think I prepared ahead, right? So this is the command we want to run there to install latest versions of Apache web server and PHP. So I take that there, right click and paste. So don't worry, the commands, like I said, there's a blog with all those commands to make things easy for you, right? So just below this video, I'm going to leave the link to the blog. So you could go there, pick up the commands, copy and paste and practice along with this hands-on lab, right? Okay, so we've installed the latest versions of Apache, web server, and PHP packages for our Amazon Linux 23 machine. You can see there we're using PHP 8.2, or you could just PHP-V, right? And that tells us we're using PHP 8.2.9. So the next thing we want to do is install MariaDB server, and that's the command for that too. I've seen online they say that cloud engineers, all they do is copy and paste, right? Well, it's not just copy and paste. You could see ahead of time, I did a lot of work to prepare those commands, right? So it's not as simple as just copy and paste. But if you've done all your preparations, you could streamline feature work for yourself, and then it becomes copy and paste. But it's never that straightforward, right? So we're installing MariaDB server. So that's done. That's complete. The next thing we want to do is start our Apache server, right? So that's the command for that. Gotta be careful while doing copying and paste. I'm introducing foreign keys into my command. So gotta be careful. Okay, sudo systemctl. So started our server. Then I want to also configure the Apache web server to start at each system boot. So, there are times when your server goes off and comes on. And at that, when it happens, you want your server to restart by itself. So to do that, the command to enable that is sudo systems enable httpd, right? Okay, so that done. So we can verify that our server is up and running. All right, so the server is enabled, right? So the next thing we want to do is we want to test that our server is up and running. So to do that, we go find its public IP address. So yeah, we come here, we'll come back to the instances page for a particular instance. And then we have this public IP there. So we pick it up, we go to a web browser, drop it, and press enter, right? And we see it works. So that's the default for Amazon Linux 2023 operating system. And that way to access it is to use this, right? So you can see something here. It tells us site can't be reached, but there's a reason for that. We're trying to access it via HTTPS when we've not yet configured SSL security access, right? So I just deliberately did this because it can confuse you if you're not familiar with that particular behavior. So that's another way. I think there's another way to, okay, I think those are the public access to the machine. Right, so those are two public ways to access our machine. So yeah, that's our server, right? And then this is the machine IP of the server, 16.16, 16.16.202.186, right? Or this Amazon custom name. So our server is up and running, but there's still a few more configurations we want to run to allow EC2 user accounts to manipulate files in the Apache document root. We must modify the ownership and permissions of the directory. So I'm going to add EC2 user to the Apache group to give the Apache group ownership of the www of the var of this /var/www directory and assign right permissions to it. Okay, this is what I mean, right? So when you have the home directory of the web server, this is it. But I mean of the EC2 instance, that's the home directory. But the document root is actually right. This is the document root of a machine. This is actually where we want to save our files. This is the directory where we host our web files and from where we can access the internet. Before this, a few steps down the line, I'm going to write a custom page there to show us and, write it there in that directory and we'll access it over the internet, right? So a few commands to run, to configurations to do. So I want to create an Apache group. So this is the command there. So I copy that. Yes. So my EC2 user, that's it there, EC2 user, right? So I want to add it to the group there. So that first command run. So I've added that to the Apache group. So I'm a log out and log back in. To log out, I do an exit, right? And then to log back in, I think I had that command to SSH into that machine somewhere there. So I just did an up key to get that. Alternatively, you can go back to your console and get that particular command to be able to access your machine. So we are back. So if you notice, so I think we want to verify membership, if we can, to be sure if what our last step would worked. Type in that group's command, and then we have that our EC2 user it's already in the Apache group, right? So a few more commands to run. So we change the group ownership of the /var/www directory and its contents to the Apache group. So go down there, paste that command, right? Okay. So next step, we add group right permissions and set the group ID for future directories, change directory permissions of var.www and its subdirectories. So we copy that command and paste it there. Enter. Next one is to add group right permissions recursively, change the file permissions of /var/www and its subdirectories, right? So one more command to run. We'll copy that. We paste that. Enter. Okay. Okay. Now, EC2 user and any future members of the Apache group can add, delete, and edit files in the Apache document routes, enabling you to add contents such as static website or PHP application to your web server. So next thing we now want to test what we've done. Want to create a PHP file in this Apache document route and test it over the internet, right? So the command to do that is so basically what I'm doing is I'm echoing this command, this PHP info. I'm writing that into PHP info.php is a script, right? So I enter that. So if I do an ls, if I go into that document route, cd var www.html, and I do an ls, I see. So basically what I did was I just wrote that file. So if I want to see what I wrote there, that same command there, I just do cat php info.php, right? So basically that's what I just did, right? I wrote out this line of code into that script, right? So we could go and confirm what do we just do over the internet. Remember it's php info.php, right? So we go back to, we get our public IP, drop that, and we call it php info.php, right? And that's it, right? So we've added a script to our web server page, and we view that script over the internet. Basically, it's just telling us the configuration of our server, right? Our PHP information and a few other things. So after done that, it's basically just to confirm what we've done. Next thing, you're advised to delete that file. Why this is just for yourself, for your own personal consumption, to know, okay, this is the version or the state of the server that I have. This is not something you want to have over the internet, right? So we go ahead and delete it. rm php info.php. That's the Linux command to delete that. And you can see our directory is empty again, right? But now we have a fully functional LAMP server. So the next thing we want to do is we want to secure our database server. The default installation of the MariaDB server has several features that are great for testing and development, but they should be disabled or removed for production servers. The MySQL secure installation command walks you through the process of setting up a root password and removing the insecure features from your installation, right? So now we want to secure our MariaDB server. first thing we want to start the server. So the command to do that is sudo all right. So we've said that's MariaDB server. Let's run sudo mysql installation, right? Okay. So enter current password for root. By default, MariaDB server root user does not have a password, so it's empty. So I just enter through it. But of course, right now it's not asks us, do we want to switch to Unisocket authentication and then maybe set a password for that, right? I'll click yes. So change root password. Let's give this a name. Let's call it our secure pass. Our secure pass at 1, 2, 3 exclamation, right? Let me note that in case we're going to need that. Yeah, I think I'm going to need that. Right? Our secure pass at 1, 2, 3 exclamation. So change. Okay, what do we do? Okay, I think change the root password. I was supposed to have typed yes there, right? Change the root password, yes. New password. So that was a misstep I did that time. It asked a question. That was not the time to type the password. I should have typed yes then. Why there? So now going ahead, let me type the new password. Okay. So going to ask me to repeat that. Okay, remove anonymous users. Yes. Disallow root login remotely. Yes. Remove test database and access to it. Yes. Reload privilege tables now. Yes. Okay. Thanks for using MariaDB. Okay. All right. So all right, to get the MariaDB server to start at every boot, let's type sudo. Okay. So that's done. Okay, now we're going to test our database connection from PHP, right? So I'm going to log into my MariaDB server. That's the command to access it with a password. Okay, what's a password? Okay, so so let's show databases. Those are the default databases that come with MySQL, right? So let's create a database. I want to test our MySQL database, and yeah, pretty much write a script that will retrieve data from the database. But first, we have to create a database and populate it with data, right? So create database sample database. Okay, then we create okay, let's do show database. All right, so we have that sample MySQL sample database. So we could say use sample database. Okay, so that's now active database. Okay, so create user sample user at localhost identify by user at 789 dynamic. Okay. So all right, so let me make things a little faster. I think I had this all prepared before now. So let me just do a copy and paste there. We've created the user, so let's grant all privileges to sample user on that database, right? So we go there, pick that. Let's paste that. That's fine. So the next thing, we want to create a table to store data in. So let's copy that. Let's paste that. After creating a table, we insert data into our table, right? Insert let's paste that. Insert into sample database to-do list, content, values, my first important item, right? So let's insert a second item, my second important item, and let's insert a third important item, my third important item. So select to see what we have in our database, or from sample data dot to do list. So we have all our 3 items. We could go ahead and even install a 4th item. Okay, so that's done. We've inserted items into our database. Let's exit MariaDB. So the next thing we want to do is, okay, so we have content in our database. We want to write a script, and well, we also happen to be in our document, Apache web documentary. So we're going to write a page that query database for what we have in database, and then displays it on the over the and then access over the internet to see what we have in our database, right? So we're in the documentary, but just in case, to just be sure, that's in case we've inadvertently gone out of that document route, we'll come back there. So what we do now is I have a sample script, right, that I've prepared that will fetch data from that database. So I'll pretty much copy that to PHP script from there to there. So I'll copy that, right? Of course, first of all, I'm going to create the file. Currently, there's nothing in that directory. So I'm going to create the script or the page where I'm going to dump that script, or where I'm going to paste that script. Sudo nano my sample data.php. So nano is a text editor. So I come here, I paste all that script, right? You can see it's the user is the sample user we created. Password, okay, we changed our password along the line. So let me adjust that. Is my cursor. I don't know. Okay, I found my cursor. What's that sample database? I think we use user at 789 dynamic exclamation. User at 789 dynamic exclamation, right? Okay, so we have a user, we have a password, we have database, sample database, and we have our table, right? To do this, and we have our script. Basically, this script just all it just does is goes into that database with a connection credentials, selects content from the table, and then comes ahead and then displays, echoes out the content to our web page, right? Of course, in production environment, you don't put your credentials on your page script. You put it outside your web web document root directory, and then kind of a way of inject it into inject those credentials so that you can access it securely, right? This is not a production standard way of using your database credentials, but this is just for demonstration purpose, right? Just to make things simple. So after writing the script for that, my sample data page, I do a Control X and Y to save what I just edited and then press enter, right? So if I want to see what we have there, CAT, my sample data.php, that's to output. So we already have our script there with the things. So let's go over the internet. Remember, it's my sample data.php. This does not exist again. This is my php info.php page. So we have my sample data.php. Wow. And so that's it, right? We've achieved what we set out to do for this lab, for this demonstration. We set up an Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud instance on AWS, that's EC2. We installed LAMP stack on the instance. We populated the database with data and wrote a web page script to retrieve data to display it on the web page, and we've accessed it from here, right? So this is the basis of dynamic websites, and dynamic websites go as large as whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter. The concept is still fundamental. You have a database, you have a script, you have you access the database and then displays it everywhere. This is the basis. This is where it all begins. These are the fundamentals, and then what you can build on this is up to your imagination, right? So these are the fundamentals, and then the cloud. The cloud is on a level, it's a network of computers, and it has all this infrastructure that can allow you to build your dreams. The limit is, at least based on what we can see, is down to your imagination and the tools available to you, right? So in this demonstration, I aimed to give you a physical understanding of a cloud environment and how to deploy an application to the cloud, right? So there's a blog. You will find a link below in the comment section of this video, right? And in that blog, you find all the commands, all the instructions I took, and you can follow along and replicate what I have done. This hands-on tutorial is the first in a series of tutorials. They're actually going to be 4 tutorial series here. So this first one was how to set up an Amazon EC2 instance and install LAMP stack on Amazon Linux 2023, which is an OS. Then the second tutorial in this series is going to deploy a pre-built website from a code source into this web server on AWS. Then in the third tutorial of this series, I'm going to install and configure WordPress application on this Amazon EC2 instance. And then in the fourth and final tutorial in this video series, I'm going to install and secure PHP on this Amazon EC2 instance, right? So these hands-on tutorials give you the basis to build dynamic websites, backends for web applications, backends for mobile applications, and pretty much anything you can build using the LAMP stack. And then if you find this video useful, do like and share. If you have questions or comments, drop them below and I will respond to them, right? So this our presentation has come to its end. So finally, my name is Ugochukwu Ukwebu, and I wish you a great experience with the cloud. Thank you very much.